Welcome to Passing Notes, spreading music across generations. This week, it was another week from your boy, Jack Hansen.
Whose boy?
Everyone's boy, your boy.
Your boy.
I'm your boy.
The Royal Ya.
Royale, yeah.
The Royale with cheese, ya.
Lots of cheese. Very cheesy.
So much cheese. It's very cheesy. This week, I chose the band San Fermin, their album Jackrabbit, to share with you
Is it
guys.
because it has Jack in it?
Is it
No.
nepotism or is it a good musical choice? Find out this week.
Yes. Find out now. I chose to share it with my co-hosts. My dad, Mark Hansen. Say hi.
Hola. ¿Cómo estás?
Yes, he does. He's foreign. My older brother, Bart. Awesome. All you audio listeners, he flexed his chain and gritted his teeth. And my good friend, Cal Jones.
Aloha.
Aloha. No one speaks English.
Meli Kaliki Matka.
Yes. I was introduced to this band and this album by a good friend of me and Kale's, Caleb Marner. He was listening to it one time, as I mentioned last week's pod.
Is he in band?
No. I think you asked that last
Is
time
he
as well.
is he in a band?
No.
Okay. Is he in orchestra?
No.
What about show choir?
He was in show choir.
Formerly.
Okay.
Would you say he's different?
Was he in theater
Yes.
or drama?
Yes. He's a coach with me and Kale for speech. So yes.
I see.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's the people he's hanging around with. I see.
Yeah.
That's the trouble.
Can't hang around that Jones boy.
So yes, he was playing it one day when I came into a practice room, and it caught my attention. I asked who it was, and then I gave him a listen that night, and I liked what I heard, so I've been listening to it since.
What song made you ask?
I think it was The Woods, actually.
Make me run and hide.
So yeah, that's it. They're super cool. It is the brainchild of the man named Ellis Ludwig Leone, or yeah, I think that's how you say it, who went to Yale, I think it was, as Dad said. I think Dad corrected me. He went to Yale. He plays the percussion and keyboards for the tracks. There's two singers, Alan Tate, who is the male voice, and Charlene Kay, who is the female singers. Both very talented individuals. And I think most of the songwriting goes to Ellis as well, but I think there are, some handoffs to other people in the band as well. There's the people who play the horns, who I don't have their names, and the rest of them, who probably each have a part in it as well. But I think Ellis is the face, even though he's usually in the background playing percussion or keyboard. Awesome. They've been described as highbrow pop, which I'm not sure fits. I don't know how to describe them, but I think highbrow might fit. I don't know about the pop part. Any other suggestions?
Yeah, I'll be sharing some suggestions. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
I guess we'll get to that later. Not in the topic we're talking about.
Oh my God.
Does anybody have anything they want to ask or want clarified before we move on to the first song?
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. All right. The first song, The Woods, kicking off the album. Does anyone want to volunteer to start us off?
I'd love to.
All right, here you go, Dad.
Now, this is first listen, right? I'm making some notes. Well, it might even be the third or fourth listen. It might have been the final sixth or seventh listen. Probably doesn't matter. But my first thought is, well, this is fairly disturbing. This will take some getting used to, because all of you know how open-minded I am, and so
Extremely.
I am opening my mind. I can't say this song says great song to drive along the beach on a sunny day to. It's more like a winding drive through a forest on a dark and dreary day, and I'm not really into that mood much.
Sure.
To me, this song struck me as something that would be sung on stage and acting out in a play. It kind of tells a story, but I felt like the music alone wasn't story enough for me. It's kind of what I got from it.
It wasn't story enough. I feel like it's mostly story.
Well,
or are you saying it just didn't suck you in?
It wasn't compelling enough musically to want me to listen to it again and again or anything. Or I wanted movement. I wanted something else than what it was giving me, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Well, I've heard this kind of thing before. I don't mind it. I normally don't do whole albums of it. But I wouldn't say this whole album is like this anyway. So, I mean, that's not really a fair statement. I do agree that it seems more like a song it could be the opening song of a musical, which is why I think it's a good opening track. I wrote it reminds me of like a campfire tale, like an old school bard maybe telling over a campfire, or like a poem read over music more than a song. The way this one's done. To me, this is, I mean, you're right. It's not like a super detailed story or anything, but it can easily evoke classics like Hansel and Gretel. You imagine like a couple people going into the woods. At least I think it's a pretty clear connection that it makes. And musically for this one, I think they do a nice job of emphasizing the kind of dark lines of the song when he like goes super baritone, like we didn't go in there alone. Yeah, I think that's kind of fun, and it takes kind of the edge off the darkness of it. At least for me, it does. Maybe it's not supposed to, but
if they'd had s'mores, it would have made it so much better as part of the deal. It would have taken all the spookiness out. Sure. I just wish they'd done that.
Yeah. They do some other interesting stuff, like dropping the instruments in and out to kind of create tension, I would say. And that Barry sax that they're messing around with is interesting. I don't know if I love it or not, but it's something.
The words that I will probably use the most throughout are dark and gothic. This is, to me, extremely reminiscent of ancient folklore. I get ancient folklore vibes. I get a little bit of body horror, like Cronenberg, kind of disgusting, grotesque things set up in this Blair Witch type story song. And why not? There are too many songs about love and not enough songs about witches. This is this is a great example and usage of our boy, our voice. This beautiful. I can't quite put my finger on who it is that he reminds me of. It reminds me a little bit of the late David Bowie, and a little bit of Leonard Cohen, and a little bit of Nick Cave. Kind of this deep, ethereal voice, which I enjoy. This song has a beautiful display of different instruments. obviously we've talked about that dirty, dirty, dirty saxophone. Of course, the strings and the percussion are great, and also flutes in the background at certain moments. Um, and together, I think, as if I were to listen to this piece, I think actually this is the first piece that I did hear from them, because Caleb actually showed this artist to us with this song. We were hanging out in the woods one time. We were actually in the woods listening to this song on kind of a drearier day. And contextually, it was appropriate. And I think there are no wrong
He's
decisions.
like, I have the perfect song.
Exactly, exactly. As far as the context of this song, musically, there are no wrong choices. But for the most part, you're either on board with this song or you're not.
Sure.
I mean, you want to talk about moods for the song? I mean, okay, but do you really want your sunshine mood every day?
No.
You know,
No,
when
I
you're
don't.
talking, this is more directed at Mark's statement earlier. You know, like, oh, you know, I'm not really into the blasé vibe, but I don't know. For me, I've been watching like serial killer YouTube vids for like the last week at work,
I have
so
too.
the album goes perfect. You know, I sprinkle that in here and there, and it's like, oh yeah, what a nice accompaniment to this. So I don't know. Sometimes, and you know, I think in the middle of winter, I can't listen to Sugar Ray. You know, so
Well, let me tell you a little something about myself. I won't sit with my wife watching dramas, series, um, although she has sucked me into This Is Us, and I've regretted it. I rue the day I got
This Is
started.
Us is a cruel show that toys with human emotion,
Yeah, well, they all do.
and it's
They
built
stress.
to do that.
They stress me out, and I don't need more stress, and I don't need songs bringing me down. I can go there all by myself. So I avoid that kind of vibe. I look to music to lift me up.
Yeah, sure. Stick your head in the ground. Ignore your stresses.
I I can't believe anybody would say that to
That was
another
a get
human
back
being.
at Bart, Dad from earlier, to what he said to me. Anyways, when I first heard The Woods, I was hooked. I've always had a love for the storylines of horror movies and psychological thrillers, but wasn't really a big fan of like the being scared aspect of them. So like I often watch like YouTube videos of like the story explained of horror movies, so that I don't have to watch the horror movie and be scared.
What?
And be scared because I don't like the being scared aspect. I like the story and the plot, but I don't want to intentionally get scared. So
Oh, I have
I
a movie for you to watch then.
oh god. So yeah, I like to watch those videos that explain the stories and endings of these movies, and this is like the song version of a horror movie, but it's not gonna scare me, right? Because it's just a song. So yeah, the dark lyrics accompanied with this disgusting and evil saxophone emphasize the aspect of the song, and it is contrasted with the more hopeful sounding arrangement of horns and strings that gives the impression of being both terrified and hopefulness at the same time, um, which is like crazy. And it's also very cool how like they weave like the different aspects. So like there's a point where it goes where it's just saxophone going and then the horns go and it's like almost like the witch or something is pouncing on you. Like they emphasize that with just the sound of the arrangement, and that's super cool when like you can just get that, especially in a song like that's not like being presented like in a theater like with visuals as well. I find that super cool. I always find myself trying to figure out what it is trying to be conveyed in the songs from these albums, because most of them aren't so straightforward lyrically and leave me wanting an explanation. The best I've come up for this song is sort of like a loss of childlike innocence due to the event that is represented by going into the forest. I want to say that it has something to do with a relationship, as that's why there's two going into the forest. Um, but I'm always left thinking it's not quite right because like why does only one leave? How would only one of them lose their innocence from the same event? Um, Either way, I'm in love with the song.
Probably has to do with this motion.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The coolest part about it is that there's an Easter egg I had no idea about up until the day I was taking notes for this music, and that is in the second half of the second verse. It mimics lyrically the song "Parasites" from this album. Musically, it imitates that the lyrics of the song "Parasites" musically in that little bit, which is kind of cool. I hadn't noticed it until I read it somewhere. I think probably on Genius. It's the first time we see the connectedness and fluidity of the album that I love so much about it. That the way the songs are interconnected and reference each other throughout the whole album is something.
What's the line? Do you know?
Um, it's just like I'd have to pull up all the lyrics.
I only asked because I'm surprised I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's very faint. I hadn't noticed it, and I listened to the album like all the time. Let me see, San Fermin. Oh wait, I'd actually need Parasites. Oh yeah, so it's like, I think it's just from the chorus. Oh wait, it's these little hands are parasites. Get in there and hang on tight. So, like in the background, faintly in that second verse, it just like mimics that musically. They don't say it vocally. It's said in the music. So like the way the horns play is at the same time that the vocalist would be singing it in the song "Parasites." So it's like a mimic there. So it's not like you're gonna hear the words. You would just hear how they would be sung from a different musical instrument. So it's very hard to catch. So yeah, one of my longtime favorites. Loved listening to the song even outside of the context of the album. I just loved singing it and trying to mimic that dark voice is so fun to try and do. And then our next song is "Ladies Marry."
I'll let somebody else lead with this one.
Okay. Our heroine enters the scene. I was not expecting a different vocalist first time through. That was a pleasant surprise. And instantly I was like, okay, either she's going to be in full time and they're both going to be singing and this is going to be some highbrow business, or it's just a quick feature, and you quickly find out, no, she's a staple in here. So it's pretty cool. Definitely got my attention a little bit more. First few seconds of this song, you know that the Barry sax isn't just going to be a gimmick. It's going to be the whole album. This song, really light, airy, inoffensive, I think transitions kind of nicely from our story song into kind of the most radio friendly, or I think most like first listen friendly songs on the album, kind of the singles coming up. I think this one's just really nice. Let the whoa. I don't know. Those are, if you're trying to chill, that's a pretty nice thing to have on in the background. The horns are really nice along with it too, and carry along nicely. And a quick jaunt to the next track. You'll know when this song is ending as the Barry sax charts.
Oh.
Listen to about the last 9 seconds. You'll know what I'm talking. It's wet.
Gross.
Listen to it. It's wet.
Please.
This is the After Hours podcast.
Next stop, Brown Talk. Ethereal vocal from a very pleasant sounding female vocalist. The lady can sing, and she does so very well. I enjoy the off-kilter drums and the great use of the horns in this track. But really, what stands out to me, as Bart mentioned, are the woes and the backing vocalists who are singing them. And I don't know if that's our lead singer, singing on top of herself over over different recordings, or it's a handful of backing vocalists. But I think it's a very pleasant sound, and I'm a fan of the Chart. I enjoy the chaotic sound at the end. I've been listening to a lot of Miles Davis, and specifically Bitch's Brew and his experimental stuff, which is very chaotic and very wild and all over the place. And I'm very much a fan of that idea and that sound.
I notice Shark fans are usually sitting in the leather or naga hide chairs versus the cloth, harder to clean sitting utensils. What is this song about? What the hell is Ladies Mary? That's why. Is it a reference to Lady Mary from Downtown Abbey, or I couldn't figure out
Downtown Abbey?
Yeah, I don't know what they're singing. She's singing about. What's
Who cares?
Ladies Mary? It don't make no sense.
See, but that's what this band does. They have really nice melodic flowing lyrics that half the time don't mean anything. I don't think.
Is this what they do? They go, oh, this guy went to Yale, so if you don't understand it, it means it's highbrow, and so you don't get it.
It's upper crust where you can just call art, when you can just like poop on a canvas and there we go.
What is your obsession tonight?
You could shard on a canvas.
Hey, you're talking about bathroom breaks, and I'm just refusing to take one tonight, and I can't get it out of my head. All right, so you know what?
Well,
we're gonna be in this shit all night.
Oh God. Well, since the next one breaks the mold, I'll just continue with my negativity and say I can't deny that this is in fact a song, but what kind eludes me.
Okay. So yeah, Ladies Mary is the first introduction to Charlene Kay, who's actually the second lead female vocalist for this band. They had lost the first one after the first album, just to San Fermin, and since Charlene Kay has actually left the band as well. So now they're on their third, I believe, female vocalist with their.
This dude's too creepy. You can tell by his songs.
I'm out of here.
On their fourth album, they have switched it up to another one. Charlene Kay has left to pursue her own personal music under the name Kay, all capitalized. That's Kaye. Yeah. And I love how it's set up. Like the album so far is that you meet the two of them separately. Like I knew you guys were gonna be surprised after you listened to the first one and you heard Alan Tate, and then the second song came and Charlene Kay showed up, and you'd be like, what, and like be kind of surprised. And I enjoyed thinking about that when I first introduced it, and the day following it after, I'd be like, nice. And I asked Dad like if he expected it, and he'd be like, no, and he was surprised about it too. So that made me happy. I've absolutely no idea what the song is about. If I'm honest, as Dad said, I haven't given it nearly as much time as I have other songs thinking about it. So I do enjoy it. So I don't have it. Most of these other songs, I have like a theory in my head. Like I like to picture all the songs connected and have like a concise story. But for this song, I have nothing. It doesn't fit in my picture at all. I think it's just like an introduction to her character, is how I put it. I do enjoy the sound of the electronic notes going down the staff. That sounds like it could almost be a guitar with effects near the end, and then the song ends with that same exact sound from the first song that reinforces the connection of the album. And I'm just not totally positive of how just yet. Like I said, I just don't know how it connects with the rest of the album. I just know that they're connected. But yeah. So I think it's alright. It's not one that I listen to very often, except when I'm listening to the album straight through. But it's alright. Our next song, Emily.
Here you go. Here's the type of song I can identify with. Chill vibe, kind of a lazy, subtle groove. It's a laid-back pop song. which is right up my alley. And I dig this one, and I'm like, okay, um, keep looking for the parts of this that appeal to me, and we'll see how the rest of the album goes.
Oh, that's it? Okay. You know, after the first song, I was like, I'm not sure a guy like this can actually get down. You know, like he might be a little too serious. I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can get groovy, but I love him in this one. The Emily, let the night take me. He's just got a lot of really, really smooth lines in this one. And it's one of the few that earwormed me right away and probably pops in my head more than most. That line in the down, down, down the rabbit hole, you know, those are keep coming back. And the trumpet solo in this one reminds me of the early, it's not the aughts, I guess, right? So I guess it'd be the early tens, early teens. Earlier this past decade, that was a hot thing to do. And I guess this is from like 2012, right?
Yeah, I want to say that around.
So that would have been about perfect timing. I was thinking a lot of, if you've ever heard Capital Cities, I think it's their first album, or at least the one that has Safe and Sound on it, their big album. There's a lot of very similar sounding stuff on that. So it just kind of took me back. And yeah, big fan. It's one of my favorites.
Still maintaining something dark underneath. Still something there. This one I found strangely danceable. It has a nice groove and a nice beat to it.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, as Mark said, somewhat of an easy listen. I didn't really have to think too much about this one. A nice beat. One lyric that I really, really enjoy and I picked up on every time I listened was "Young unbeliever in the light." I really like that. That's a nice juxtaposition of ideas. This rabbit hole idea. This is when I start to go, wait a second. I wonder if there's maybe a theme going on here, or perhaps a concept. Perhaps this is a concept album of some kind. And I found a nice little, as Jack said, Easter egg in the repetition of going down the rabbit hole. And given the cover art, I am convinced to some extent that this is a form of concept album.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you have to dig too deep to get the idea. Next song is Jackrabbit as well.
I don't know what the concept is though. Like, I get the wall. I get the second half of that ELO album that I can't remember the name of. I don't really get this concept. I get the Mars Volta. I don't get this one. I'm still trying to figure it out.
The keys to unlocking that is in the Ivy League.
Yeah, go to Yale, figure it out. I've read people think that it's the concept is like a returning of nature is where you find peace. Like he's returning down the rabbit hole, like to find peace, because like there's kind of like some emotional instability here going on, especially in Emily is where it becomes first prevalent via the lyrics. And that's not like what fits my narrative that I fit with the album. I mean, it kind of does in a little bit, but it's just not. I mean, I get where people can find that. I don't know if Ellis has talked about it, but I should look for that. Anyways, I believe Emily is a song about trying to gain emotional stability. Alan states he has everything he needs in the song. All of his colors are in line. That being his job, life, and overall situation that like he's situated in, like he's fine. And yet he's still unhappy and incredibly lonely. this is where I get my first glimpse into the idea of the album being about like not wanting about growing up and learning how to manage all the stresses and challenges that come after that initial loss of childhood innocence, which I also said was the woods, which is like my theory. We are also introduced into the motif that is the rabbits, and I believe is a symbol of the childhood and innocence that is now lost with the lives. With the lines, Emily, let the night take me down, down, down the rabbit hole, which might be about escaping the emotional instability and loneliness by dreaming about his childhood. He's going down the rabbit hole, back into his, like, he's dreaming about his childhood, whatever. I spent a lot of time thinking about this, Dad.
Evidently.
Musically, I'm a sucker for all the horns and woodwind instruments, so of course I love that. And Alan Tate's voice is so relaxing and carries me through the entire song. And Charlene is a little bit in the song, I think, in the background. It's a good little accent to his voice throughout the song. And it's also cool how they're not totally joined yet. They do that later in the song where they both kind of sing at this. They both sing, but it's cool how it first is introduced Alan Tate in the first song, and then we're introduced to Charlene K, and then in the third song they both come in. That's kind of a cool little thing that I enjoy. But yeah, Emily. And then our fourth song, Jackrabbit.
Well, I hope this doesn't confuse you guys, because this is a very poppy, light song, but it's too lightweight for my tastes. It's well crafted, I think, though. Kind of reminded me of maybe the Cranberries a little, something like that. I tried to like this one. Given it's the title track and all, but it's just too wimpy.
Okay.
Wow. I don't. You must have just really been turned off by this one right away. I mean, I will agree with you. There's something about this one that makes me not want to like it, but at the same time, it's so infectious that, even though I never click it intentionally to play it, like when I go back and listen to specific songs of this one, whenever it inevitably comes on, I never skip it because it's like once I'm along for the ride, I'm like, yeah, okay, let's finish this out. Grabs you right off the back with those quick little quips. What's the first thing she says? I can tell you how the story goes, right? I think that's what it is. And then it's kind of like a fluctuation in pitch. I don't know. I think it's like a nice zinger in the first line of an article or something to get your attention. And her voice, something about her voice kind of isolated over a snare just works really, really well. I thought, at least. I think that's also kind of a style that was popular at the time. At least this one kind of reminds me of some old SoundCloud songs I used to have too. Anyway, some really great subtle horns throughout the song too, aside from the obvious ones that are kind of layered in there, especially in the second verse. There's some fun stuff going on in the background.
The best thing about this song is her voice, in my opinion. From kind of her lower register that she's into until the end when she really pushes it up to those very high head voice places. I love it. Her performance is great and fits the tone. Lyrically, Lost in the Woods appears again, and I'm going, there's definitely a theme now. There's definitely a theme. And I appreciate the folksy shift that occurs in this song. We go from dark to not as dark to light to now very, very light. I'm starting to see a trend or a pattern in the way these songs are going. But I agree, it's not necessarily, for me, it's a peg lower than what Bart said. This isn't necessarily one that I would re-listen to again and again, despite the fact that it is the title track.
So on Genius, as I kind of mentioned earlier, the people who leave annotations believe that this whole song is about the returning to nature because that leads to rebirth, which I can see, but that's again like not what my storyline is when I'm listening. Running for the hills in my storyline is what the character is doing when they are dreaming of their childhood, and that the jackrabbit that they are underneath is the child that is still in them. There's continued themes in the lyrics from Emily with being alone with all these people around. It's like all alone with all these people, right? And everything you see is double line with the theme of suppressing the loneliness with drinking that was established in Emily when they talked about blurred vision in that song. Charlene lets her voice shine a little bit more in this song, but still isn't quite as great as it will prove to be later in the album. Nonetheless, it does a great job of fitting the tone of the song and giving a kind of carefree yet somehow urgent feel to the song that is a pretty unique, solid song in the album, and is, I think, fine to be one of the singles, as Bart called in this brief section. I believe starting with Emily, I think, is what he was talking about, would classify as the singles. On to the next one, Astronaut.
This really feels like music for a play to me. It's definitely interesting, but I'd like some people jumping around on a stage to keep me and my senses a little more occupied than the song does on its own again. That's all I got on that.
Okay. I think the gentle acoustic plucking in this one is really nice. I think the opening lyrics about being asleep are great because I just listen to this with my eyes closed, trying to see where this one would take me most of the time. And usually that's in the direction of sleep. So, hey, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Sure.
My first note from my first listen was, ooh, dark. This thus far, I would argue, is darker than the woods. I can consent at this point and concur that this is definitely a themed piece, and it's also definitely theatrical in many ways. I almost would compare it to the Phantom of the Opera, where you have the central figure or the male figure as being this kind of dark, jaded, disfigured character almost. Our male vocalist has a tendency to emote very darkly, which I very much appreciate. He does this in a very ominous way in this song. I enjoy the slow build. Also, the instrumental break I thought was really actually kind of neat, along with those kind of unhinged changing chord progressions. I don't necessarily know. I have this note with a couple other songs coming up, but I really don't know what they mean when they say the title, the titular word, like astronaut. If you look at the rest of the lyrics, there's not really much that has to do with astronauts at all. So to me, I'm slightly confused lyrically, but still, as a piece of music, it does its job.
Yeah, such a cool tune. We are greeted warmly by Alan's voice, again, painting a picture so vividly vague you can almost see the whole scene. Then, in the last half, we are treated with a symphony of horns, piano, and the soaring notes of Kay, with Alan amusingly matching pitch 5 octaves down. That that allow our own minds to contemplate that last line and feel very smart for no earned reason. The last line has been impactful for me for some reason, and it fits the motif of loneliness and is very similar to the line from Jackrabbit, alone with all these people, as mentioned. So that last line is an astronaut looking for his home in outer space, right? Or something like that. Like, it's just a dot in space. Like, you would be naive to do that. Like, if you were lost in space and, you know, your home is just a dot in space, how would you ever look for it? So an astronaut in outer space would also feel similarly alone in such an unimaginably large plane that outer space is. He would feel so alone, even though that the plane is full of the unknown, and it's so full, the plane of space is getting bigger. Like, actively right now, it's getting bigger to hold everything. But, you know, we don't need to geek out about science right now. You know, I just picture that, like, he is in a crowd. Like, he's associating a person being in the crowd. So this is the same character from Emily for me. Whenever the guy sings, that's the same character as when the girls, or is a different character than when the girl sings. But they're both characters. So when the girl sings, it's a character. When the guy sings, it's a character. And it's the same character throughout the songs. So in Emily, he says he's alone with all these people around. Both of them say that. But he states it originally. And it's like, he's alone, but I imagine him in a crowd. He's alone, but he's in a crowd. We've all felt that way. Like, we're just alone and we're in a crowd. Like, in New York, you could probably feel that. In school hallways, you probably feel that if you're not talking with friends, whatever. So I'd imagine that's kind of what the astronaut feels. Like, there's so much around the astronaut if he's just floating in space. He's not really alone because there's so much around him, but he feels alone because of his smallness, what you feel in a crowd. So that's kind of where I take it. Anyways.
Wow.
So the first half of the song is like being read a bedtime story, which is like Bart, you know, he was being lulled to sleep, you know? And it's very beautiful. There's a beautiful arrangement, and then, or it's just a very beautiful song. And then there's the awesome arrangement that is the last half that holds this song in a special place for me. Like, it's just crazy how it keeps me entertained for so long. Like, the singing is only for like a minute and a half, if that much, and then the rest of it's just the arrangement, and I love it. And it's great. I love this song. But take note of the girl in the dress. She will come up again in 2 other songs. He mentions it in the lyrics that there's a girl in the dress. It's like his first line, or watching you lay there in the dress, I think is something in the line. She comes up. She comes up twice or 3 times later. So keep ahead.
Once,
And then,
twice.
so on to our next philosopher.
Later.
Does anybody else get the sense that the 3 of us listened to an entirely different album than Jack's been listening to? I mean,
No,
Jack,
I disagree.
yes, it's a joke, but I may have my brain hemispheres wrong, but I ordinarily listen to music using my right brain, not my left brain, and
Sure.
Jack's using his left brain entirely, is what it feels like, or whatever side's appropriate. If I am thinking that deeply into the music, in my mind, I'm doing it all wrong. That is not what I'm going to music for, and that's cool. I mean, that's part of what this whole thing is about, is discovering those differences, and it's kind of neat. I mean, that was damn near a dissertation, a psychological dissertation of some sort on a relatively short song. I mean,
Sure.
it's crazy. But let's go on to philosopher.
I'll tell you something. I usually
Yeah.
don't do that with most songs. I think it's just something about this album that brings it out and makes me want to do that. I want to know the meaning behind the songs. I want to know what the story is. I want to put a meaning to it. Even if it's not correct, I want to make something out of it. It's just something about this album that gets me and inspires me to do that.
No, that's great.
In a similar way, my interpretation of this theme or this story, I would argue, is a psychologically based as well. I envision the female voice as the ego and the male voice as the super ego. in a dialogue with one another and trying to come to some understanding. Furthermore, I think the motif of the rabbit hole is being is being changed in a different way. I envision a jackrabbit as something scared and something paranoid. And I envision the rabbit hole as being a place of loneliness and loss. And like literally the expression going down the rabbit hole is an expression which is correlated to going on a tangent or going down a place of uncertainty, and sort of aimlessness. Um, so I attribute that to this sort of idea. Additionally, I'm going to bring this up real quick. Does everybody know there's a director in Hollywood? His name is David Lynch. He directed Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Does anybody I get super like David Lynch vibes from this
Yes.
whole album.
Yeah. A little
Um,
strange, definitely dark.
yeah. And there's something very dreamlike about this. And I'll bring this up in a couple other songs too, but I wanted to throw that out there as an idea.
Very good. Philosopher. Quirky, jerky, a lot of sounds, popping in and out. But why? But why? The bridges are smart and experimental, or are they just mental?
You felt so smart writing those. You felt so smart writing those.
I'm trying to be highbrow, man. I'm just not sure. All I can figure is this song's hipster quotient is beyond my grasp. That's all I can figure out. I'm sure you guys can explain it to me.
No, I can't explain it either. All I can explain to you is that this was the second earworm for me.
What?
Her singing the "I'm a philosopher" line, like
Philosopher.
that gets stuck in my head, man. And I really just live to sing and try and match that pitch. But I'm not going to do that for you now.
Thank you.
But I mean, yeah, that's all I'm in it for.
I love the drumming on this track, even though it's unhinged and strange and unique. I love it even more because of that. It's very cool because it's heavy. The first like drum beat in like the first 5 seconds of this song is awesome. It sounds like Led Zeppelin. It sounds rock and roll, like to the point. And then it kind of fades away and becomes something else. I'm obsessed with the drum part of this song. And the minimalist choices, as far as instrumentation, when it's not the bridge, are great. The use of imagery such as electricity um, leads me to kind of understanding what they're going for with this song a little bit better. Additionally, the strings and the drums are murderous on this track. Fantastic. I love the strings and drum combination on this track. But this brings me back to a point I made earlier, which was like astronaut, I have no idea what the hell "I'm a philosopher" means in the context of this song.
Sure.
Like at least the line about astronaut is I feel like an astronaut alone. I'm a philosopher. What the hell? What does that mean? Which is a kind of uh, an ironic question given the subject matter of the title and the chorus, but I have no idea what that means in regards to the rest of the lyrics of the song.
So like I said, within my storyline, there are two characters, the boy and the girl from the woods, and this is the second song from the perspective of the girl after ladies marry. The song itself, to me, is about fears, worries, challenges, and aftermath of the dreams the character has that I believe is about Kay's own feelings about her career and aspirations, and that is she's a musician, but in this song I think she's an actress. She mentions, and it makes sense because she really brings it with the song. She brings it with the song vocally. With the high notes, you can just feel a lot of emotion in the way she sings the lines. And it's such an awesome moment when it gets all quiet and the horns come in and Kay suddenly hits the big, I'm getting all excited now. You know, that big moment. It's huge. Love that part. It's so much emotion and it's awesome. You got to live for that moment in this song. And then the song's got an interesting outro with the percussion and the strings that feel a bit creepy, especially with the that's kind of a motif throughout the whole album, which is always so fun to me. And the sounds of breaking strings in a similar way to the wood sounds, super awesome. And I believe, you know, the girl in the dress that is referenced in Astronaut is the girl in Philosopher. Like, she is the actress going down the red carpet. She's wearing the dress, you know. And then also coming back later after this instrumental, the woman in red, the red dress. Same woman. That being said, does anyone have anything? There's quite a few instrumentals. I forgot to mention it, but there are. If you don't have anything to say about it, that's fine. I have like a short sentence about it, but I just thought that if you have something to talk about, you can. They're kind of fun. They're not super boring, I don't find, and they're pretty short. That being said, it's Ecstatic Thoughts.
I thought it sounded like filler music from a Dr. Seuss special.
Okay.
I was thinking more boss fight.
Not a put down. Not a put down. I love Dr. Seuss.
Okay.
So, sorry, Bart.
That's fine.
He said it sounds more like a boss fight, like in a video game. Like that's what it reminds him of. Cal, you got anything?
Ecstatic thoughts, synapses, going from one thing to the next. Electricity, it's one brain, part of the brain moving to the other part of the brain, connecting thoughts.
How about
which goes into my yeah, exactly. Yes. Maybe this is the theme song for our podcast. Yes, this leads into my psychoanalytic theory, along with Jack's.
So yeah, while just a minute of instrumental, I find it to be really cool with the dirty horns and then the static sounds that kind of emphasize the electricity of maybe the synapses firing. I just find it's a good way of transitioning into what I would say the second act of the album. I believe that those last 4 songs were very solid, and a good, act, with the woods being a good intro. So I think this is a good transition into that second act, and that starting with Woman in Red.
The singer reminds me of Lou Reed when he does his talking of the lyrics.
Yep.
I never liked Lou Reed.
Oh my God.
I always thought he was very overrated. This guy, however, unlike Lou Reed, has a really nice singing voice. I don't know why they feel the need to do the talking thing so much. If I were this guy's agent, I'm like, stop with the talking. You've got a great voice. Play to your strengths, man. I suppose some of these affectations make them smart or avant-garde to folks that are too cool to like the hits. It also might make them pretentious. Thank you very much.
Yeah, all subjective. I noticed something I thought was kind of this is the first song that made me realize, or at least in my head, that they kind of use the bari sax as a bass sometimes, like where it's just kind of playing notes as a bass line, and I think that's actually pretty cool and kind of an innovative thing. Um, this is a song. I mean, this song, it might be my favorite one on the album. It's just I have a little bit of a problem because it lives through one moment for me. Like it lives so strongly through one moment, and I feel like the whole song could have been elevated. Like if he hit the whole song with as much conviction as he hits the very last Woman in Red, it'd be incredible. But I don't know, maybe the build up is part of the payoff and why that's so good. I haven't decided, but man, hard not to wild out with him when he's oh the Woman in Red. It's sweet, sweet moment. Very, very good.
Couldn't agree more. I love this. I was blown away by his vocal range and when he decides to kick it up a notch. I'm accustomed to hearing his low baritone voice throughout, but this was a lovely change and one that I wish there was more of. Um, this one is where I came up with the David Lynch idea or the Twin Peaks idea. This one to me seems the most Lynchian. Um, I love the keys and the synth at the beginning. Um, Sleep is mentioned a few times, so perhaps this is a dream woman. Um, the lyricism and his phrasing is extremely theatrical, and this is where it becomes very Phantom of the Opera for me. And that chorus is murderous, or that repeated "Woman in Red" section is fantastic.
Yeah, so with the song, we're returning to the male character, and I believe the woman sleeping in the dress from Astronaut and the woman from Philosopher are the same person. At least, it is that way in my storyline. As in Philosopher, there's a reference to the character's eyes, just as is so prominent in this song. The woman with the little eyes. And there's a line in Philosopher, with these eyes, I'm a philosopher. Um, and it's just so prominent in the song, and the fact that she is in red would allude to the dress being worn in Astronaut. And this song just gets me in the tiniest of ways. The way, the cadence that Alan has in two phrases. There's two phrases, and I've tried to show this with somebody else. I tried to share it with my good friend Luke Schaefer, and I don't think he shares the same thing. But there's two phrases in here that his cadence just gets me. It's the hold still now while I cherish the ground. Just that, the way he sings that, it's not similar anywhere else in the song. But it's totally different. It's a little bit
But don't be rough with me.
yeah, but don't be rough with. And then he does the same thing, the exact same thing. Tiptoe now, it's a merry-go-round of ruffled sounds. Yeah. That whole, both of those kill me. I love both of them. It's so good, and I want him to be doing that always for some reason.
There's a few of those throughout the album. He's that's what I'm saying. That's something they're good at, is making these nice melodic. Maybe it's just him, like, interpreting the lines in a brilliantly melodic way. But
I want an entire song going off that cadence. I want an entire song of that. It's so good. It's like crack for my ears. I don't know. And I realize it's so weird that just those 4 lines from the song get me so much, but I can't explain it. It's just so good.
no, that's not.
It's not even a big moment in the song. It's just great. The pounding keys and percussion, along with the sound of the dark sax, makes for an urgingly dark beat listening, insisting for you not to fall asleep, is what the song is. The song I haven't quite fit into my story just yet, but it's so cool on its own, especially with the little piano break before the big outro where Alan gets really big and lets loose, even going into a falsetto for a second, and then the quiet strings to work us out of Woman in Red and into the quiet cave, which is the next instrumental, the cave. anything.
Did anybody else think they were getting texts during this song? There's like these two little notes, these beep things that I thought my phone was going off. I thought I was getting a notification of texts. That's all I have on this one.
Okay.
Are we talking about the cave now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a lot.
that's fine.
Just kind of enjoying the ambiance at this point.
Sure.
New instruments, vibes, xylophones, strings, more strings. It builds to the next song very well. It's a very nice connector piece.
Yeah, it's another instrumental.
And to me, this is a set change. If we're looking at it from a theatrical perspective, this is where the lights go out, except for perhaps a blue tint, and the scene starts to shift a little bit, or perhaps a spotlight on our hero or heroine as she's or he is moving through the this cave into the next scene.
So yeah, it's another instrumental, but in such a tasteful way that gradually builds into this creepy intensity. It's never really worth skipping unless you were taking notes on lyrics, because it's so short anyways, and it just builds into the next song. So it's never like, oh, instrumental skip, because it's just like the precursor to the next song, and I enjoy it, and it kind of gives us a sense of something bad is coming into the next song. Something evil maybe, and that is in the song Parasites.
And that definitely makes you start thinking not good things. I hope I come across some music that gets me deep thinking and it pushes me into that sometime, like this does for you, Jack. I'm worried that I'm in my head all the time, most of the day, already so deep that that's why I don't when I listen to music, because I'm escaping that. So there's that. And I hope that explains what I have to say about this song a little bit.
Which is nothing.
Is this someone's sick idea of a love song? What the hell? This thing is dark. I mean, would someone please turn on an effing light? And while you're turning on that light, could you give me a little more light, as in not as heavy, please? Lightness of both varieties would be nice here and there on the album. I don't know. I've always obviously struggled with this album up to this point.
Yeah, I think super fun, interesting matchup at the beginning before everything molds together, kind of with him and her going back and forth. We got our girl going in on the nasty lines on this one, teeth and tongues for feeding and all that. Her saying little mouth makes me cringe for some reason. Couldn't tell you why. I don't know what it is. Maybe you're referring to someone as having like your little mouth. I don't know. Something about that's weird to me. But love the bottom deck of the Titanic dance breaking here.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Very ominous song. Then to this interesting build, to this more upbeat section over top of a dark section, which I find a bold choice. The lyric I really like is "Keep her in honeycomb," I believe. I love the choral choices, like the a cappella section and this sort of choir-like sound that's coming through. I enjoy that. And the instrumental break, I can agree with Bart. I think it's awesome. I like that part. But as far as lyrically, this one's pretty darn disturbing.
So the line you're talking about is "Keep her cased in honeycomb, that way she won't be alone."
Yes,
The
that
queen
one.
will never have to overthink a thing. Right. So now the two characters have truly connected in the song, right? They're both singing. They're both prevalent. This is the first time they're both singing, pretty important parts. In a way that it might not be positive, it seems. We know this is because of the line the choir sings, join the moving pictures and be saved, which was the female character's dream to be an actress, join the moving pictures, whatever, the movies, and be saved. Obviously, the two are parasites to each other, with the male encasing the female so she can feel comfortable and not have to deal with the ugly outside and keep her in the pretty bubble while she insults the fact that he is like her father with some flaw, which is possibly the drinking, as we know, with the blurred lines and seeing double vision from the lines in previous songs. Both of them are being toxic to each other in different ways, which is the parasitic thing, the chaotic nature of the outro is so cool, and how the song kind of builds in intensity throughout, helps reinforce the toxicity of the message of the song, indicating the buildup of the harm that is being done to each other. It's also cool that both voices get to shine in the song rather than the way they had been accenting each other in the previous songs, with one being the main and the other one just kind of backing in the background. It's cool that they both come into the glory of the light, which is a future song. But the next song is Reckoning.
Hey, this one starts off kind of bouncy with the female vocals and cute lyrics. And then the music slows, sounds kind of ominous. And I'm thinking, here comes Lou Reed, Leonard Cohen. But no, he keeps it lighter too. And I'm thinking, this is a winner. Then they combine their voices, but with separate lines. And I felt like the emperor who said to Mozart after Amadeus has played his latest arrangement, there's just too much sound. To me, this song and many others would be so well served in a live setting. And maybe I should close my eyes and imagine it. And then the two voices going back and forth, competing, would be easier to separate and deal with. To see it performed like that, I think for me, it'd be a more highly engaging experience. But maybe it's just too complicated for me.
We're talking about Reckoning, right?
Yeah.
I don't have a ton to say about this one. I really, really like the violin on there, and I like it even more when the melody is echoed on the keys. I think it's a xylophone. Yes, Dad.
Yes, I have an arrow.
Wrong track.
I wrote this. I have an arrow. I put it under the wrong track.
Yeah, I wondered.
So sorry.
What the heck you were talking about?
You'll fix this in post, right?
Maybe.
My apologies. I screwed the whole thing up.
Just say your notes for Reckoning now.
That was the last half of that. Now that I look at it, that this song and others would be served in a live setting for me, watching them on stage and being performed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what was the other half of the notes for? What song was that for?
For two scenes.
Two scenes. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Bart, did you finish?
Anyway, I just really like the melody they have going on this. It's across multiple instruments. I kind of wish that they would have given this song to Kay instead, though. I would have liked to hear what her voice sounded like on this one, I think.
As would I. This more simple opening is then broken by abrupt strings, and another callback to, of course, that spinning Ferris wheel. Another motif in this album. I don't have many notes on this song either, but I did enjoy it for what it's worth.
Yeah, this song originally stuck out to me because of the frequent string riff after each verse. And as I continued to listen, I gained a more appreciation for, you know, the contemplatingness of the lyrics, of looking back at life and wondering how he's wasted time on Earth. And it's a message a lot of people can feel, I'm assuming. Like, just whenever you're looking back at yourself, like, man, I could have done more. Even if it's often unhealthy to do that, but like, I feel that's a message most people have probably done at some point. Like, and he's on this Ferris wheel, he's moving but not ever going anywhere. That's the line where, like, you're going through life, but you can feel like you're kind of stuck at a standstill, not making any progress towards something. So it's kind of a cool but sad thing to talk about. I like it as a concept, but it can be a bit of a downer. But I feel Alan's voice is a great instrument to voice this feeling and get you feeling that way. I feel like it's such a great way to get you feeling that contemplatingness and the sadness that can come with it. If that's the way you're looking at it, from my perspective, of that's what the song's trying to get you to do. I feel it's a great instrument to help you achieve that period, or that whatever, get you into that zone. But I enjoy that song.
Don't let me get in my zone.
Don't let me get in my zone. So yeah, the next, I think it's the last, no, the second to last instrumental, The Glory, if anyone has anything.
I wrote instrumental.
Awesome.
Genius.
Do you have anything there, Kale? No?
No.
Okay. I really like the guitar riff. It's not something that has been heard anywhere else in the album and can feel maybe a little bit out of place, maybe because of it, but I really enjoy the song because of it, so I'm not mad about it. It goes, and it's just a soaring guitar riff. That's very cool.
I think you're biased.
Probably. Yeah. I like it. Anyways. Next song, Two Scenes. I believe Dad kind of
Yeah, it starts off kind of bouncy with female vocals and cute lyrics, and then, well, you've heard this before.
Okay.
I can always appreciate album callbacks, things that tie things together, and I think, if I remember right, this song is full of them. We get astronauts, we get philosophers, we get movie stars, and that's great.
Enough said of it.
Oh, Two Scenes. Love the opening, gorgeous phrasing, the tonal change with the orchestral movements, the vocal performances. If ever there was a scene that was musical theater, it is this one. It is this arrangement is precisely musical theater. We have one character talking over here, we have another character talking over here. They sing over top of each other to show that they're in conflict. And it's beautiful. This song is incredible. It's my favorite one on the album, and one that I have added to my long list of liked songs.
Yeah, we did it. I agree. This song is just beautiful, especially when you get to Alan's verse. It's like a continuation of Reckoning in a way, and there's the reference to astronaut, and the next verse comes in, and Alan gets bigger, and there's a reference to philosopher from Kay's parts, and it's just a big amalgamation of everything that has been in the album, and it's awesome. I would have been very happy if the album ended here. Not that I'm unhappy that it didn't. and it has one more song, but it would still be cool if it ended here as well. I think this is also an alternative ending if you don't want to listen to Billy Bibbit. I think this is also a great ending spot, and like if you want it to end on a more somber note, this is a great place to stop it. But if you want to get into a little bit more of a cheery mood, go down to Billy Bibbit. But we have an instrumental between that. If anyone has anything to say about Halcyon Days. Nope. That's fine. It pretty much is just a return to the sound of the woods, which is cool. Love the sound. Awesome. Billy Bibbit.
Why you would skip this, you wait the whole album, and why you would not go to the finish line with this song is beyond me. Nice chorus, given to love and get what you want. Catchiest line on the whole album for me. Great female vocal, nice little tune. It's my second favorite next to Emily. Yeah, I like the finish.
Awesome.
Don't take that wrong.
Yeah, is that the first song you said anything nice about?
No, I did Emily. I said nice things about Emily.
I'm just joking.
I like Emily.
Yeah, if you read between the lines, there might have been something else positive here and there.
Maybe if you squint. This song is a good example of something they do really well. You know, their phrasing. The slow to quick staccato, given to love, little Billy Bibbit. Little fun things like that are great. Nice tease of the melody, doing it first with the instruments and then with the vocals. I think that's really cool. Yeah, this is a great one to end on. Another one of the highlights. This album's kind of nice. It's got like good one here at the beginning. We take a couple tracks off. Oh, here's another good one. It's sprinkled throughout. It's nice balance.
Oh, that is how you close an album. Beautiful, triumphant ending, with all of the orchestral pieces on display. Beautiful intro, given to love. What a nice moral. It's adorable. It's cute. Put it under the Christmas tree. It's great. I really like it. Beautiful ending. Beautiful ending. And adds to the theatricality of this whole thing. It's very much the closing song.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Billy Bibbit for
I just want to know who Billy Bibbit is, though, in relationship to every other song, because it's seemingly the only thing that is that doesn't have a tie-in to anything else. I want to know who this Billy.
Sounds like the name of a cartoon rabbit, Jackrabbit, to me.
Perhaps.
Sure. Here's mine. So Billy Bibbit for me is kind of a song about and to the child of the two characters. Like the whole album was a way of warning the child of the flaws and challenges that his parents experienced, and as a way of warning him not to make the same mistakes that they did, feeling like they didn't do everything they could, feeling really lonely, developing a drinking habit, being in a toxic relationship, etc. Everything that was mentioned. But also kind of saying it's not his fault if he does, because he was raised by them. So if that does happen, don't feel down about yourself. Give it to love. It's a really cool moment when they hit you with the Billy, we're all gonna die.
Yes, yeah. Of course.
And then the strings come in big with all the chaos, and then it lifts, and the bells and vocals come back for a nice, cheery end. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it seems nice and cheery, and then it's just, Billy, we're all gonna die, and it gets chaotic, and then it gets nice again. Like, we're just gonna avoid whatever just happened. Like, it was like a glitch where it was all nice and cheery, and then it gets dark, and, like, the face twists, like, in a horror movie or something. It's cool. Awesome way to end for the alternative ending, for the true ending. Great album. I'm glad everybody liked that ending. I'm gonna give the album a faux.
I didn't think about what I wanted to rate it.
Nobody ever does.
I'll go 3.
Higher than I was expecting.
I don't want to give this a rating this week.
Duh.
I want to leave this because I think this is an album that, even though we've had 3 weeks, and it isn't one of those things where, I waited until the third week to try and grind out a whole week's worth. I've been listening to this thing for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm not sick of it, which is, first of all, surprising. I think 3 weeks of listening to anything, we would get a lot of people there. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of songs in this album that, with subsequent listens, this is just a complex album. I think that you will like more the more you listen to it, because you pick up on so many more of the complexities, or you start to tie your own connections to it, or whatever it might be. So I think this is one that would be unfair for me to rate now, because I think I'll end up liking it a lot more later.
Cool.
I'd like to believe that as well.
In that spirit, like any piece of art, I think it only takes time to gain understanding of what the piece necessarily is, whether it's a piece of visual art, a piece of audio art, or a combination of the two. But I will give it a rating. I enjoyed the hell out of this album. I don't necessarily have any answers of what it is or what it necessarily means, because I can only theorize. And because of that, and because I enjoy really the unknown and not understanding, I'm going to give it a 3.8.
Cool. Awesome. So that does it for San Fermin. Thank you guys for joining me with that. And I'm glad to hear that some of you enjoyed it, and some of you believe that you will come to enjoy it more with time. I have my doubts about some people. Dad. But that's cool. And with that, I pass the torch to Kale. Let us know, what's the album, bud?
Well, I'll say it's about damn time. I told Jack at the beginning, when we were sort of hanging out, I said, 3 weeks is the perfect amount of time for me to choose an album. And I think I should require that every time. I was going through so many ideas of what to do this week, but I came to a conclusion with this album. Let me see if I can get... if I can put it in the chat. Hello? There. Crud. Stand by.
Awaiting transmission.
Waiting. Oh, there it is. Okay. I would like to announce the name of the album. It is one of my favorite artists at the moment, and has been for a while. Someone who I really enjoyed the voice of, and someone who I got the privilege of seeing live before it was cool. Mr. Parker Millsap and his band. It's going to be an easy listen. I think it's only 35 minutes. It's a little bit rootsy, a little bit Southern Gothic is what I told Jack it was. And it should be fun. Should be fun.
So it's Parker
Not too hard,
Millsap.
not too
Kale
heavy.
always brings something spicy to the table.
Truly. So it's Parker Millsap, The Very Last Day is the album?
Yeah.
Very Last Day, Parker Millsap from 2016.
Awesome. Oh, there goes
Whoa.
Whoa, hey! He was that offended by my
Hey,
choice.
we're casting here.
Hey!
What are you doing leaving early? You think you could just
What
clock
are you
out before we
doing?
done the outro? What are you doing?
Bert and
I don't
Tom.
even know if he's here.
Cool. Does that mean it's Kale and then it's me?
That does mean that, I believe.
Isn't it so hard to pick an album when it's 1 week at a time and it's your week
Yeah.
next and you're trying to listen to the album from the week? It's like, gosh, I can't. It's a scramble. I gotta listen to the album every day and then put all my music on shuffle until I find something and I'm like, ooh, maybe this. Then I'll listen to that album and be like, nah, this album sucks. Have to listen to all my music on shuffle again. That's my method. I don't know what you guys do.
Well, I mean,
Because I
to
have
be
so
fair-
so much music I've just forgotten about.
To be fair, you did have 3 weeks of not having to listen to anything, so.
I was too entrenched in the Fermin.
Ah.
You could say I was firm for the Fermin.
Lost in the sauce.
Fermin for Fermin.
Okay, I think Dad's having some.
Get this dumbass back in here. I got something else to say about one of my Christmas presents, and then I'm trying to go get some Pizza Hut.
What? 10.
I got a dinner box on the way coming out the oven, boys. Let's roll.
I didn't know there were any Pizza Huts left open.
Just for the breadsticks.
Are we wrapping up the pod before you do your?
Hell yeah, we are.
Okay, cool. Thanks for listening. Join us next week for Parker Millsap, the very last day. This has been Passing Notes. I'm Jack. That's my dad. That's my brother. That's my good friend Kale. Have a good one.
Deuce is.
Peace out.
All right.